Welcome to another edition of the Gridiron Report. I'm Jarret Johnson. I'm joined by the mighty Joe Yeager, who's looking dapper as usual. I gotta say, even got a lot of comments from other people who work here at Tech about how dapper the whole cowboy hat, vest is looking. And by the way, what kind of are those gator skins? What kind of boots are those?
No, they're something called Teju lizard. T-J-U. They're made in Mexico, and I don't know too much about the animal, but it's some kind of lizard. And yeah, I like the look of them, though, man. I really do. They're a little bit different. Comfortable.
They are. Speaking of comfortable, man, this hoodie I'm wearing from Red Ritter Outfitter, Texas Tech. It's a Dark Horse product. It's amazing, very comfortable. And you know I love the caps. I go on and on about them, but it's legit. These caps are amazing. Get them at Red Ritter Outfitter. Speaking of amazing, another segue, Texas Tech's performance, especially on the defensive end and special teams, in the 29-7 victory over BYU. To me, Joe, a cathartic, total victory almost, in that you got to showcase what West Texas, what Lubbock, what Texas Tech football is all about, this program is all about, on such a grand stage. But what was your overall takeaway, Joe?
Yeah, I mean, it's just, it's been said again and again, this was the perfect storm, the perfect scenario, and it all played out perfectly. I mean, what could you ask for more than what we saw, except for maybe a little more productivity in the red zone.
Red zone, right.
But I mean, when you look at the overall, the big picture, it just couldn't have gone a whole lot better. I mean, the team came out, they rang the bell, they answered the door, they did whatever cliche you want to throw out there. They rose to the occasion. This was not a situation where you have everything before you and then you let everybody down.
Right.
We've seen that happen a few times. But this, as people have said, this team's a little bit different. This is this is a special ball club, and they really showed it on the biggest stage possible. It was an outstanding game.
It was for Tech. If you're a BYU fan, when we were up there in the press box, I was looking over the section of blue, the visitor section, and I thought, man, imagine the people who made the trek all the way out here just to see this. See your team down, 26-0 before you could do anything. There was a stat where Tech had run something like, it was even worse in the first half. It was like 35 plays in BYU territory Tech had run, while BYU had run like 4, I think, in Tech territory.
Right.
I mean, it was total domination on the defensive end. Special teams was lights out. And the offense actually moved the ball quite well. It's just, again, in the red zone. I asked Mac Lefwitz about that. I mentioned the explosive plays. I asked him about that run by Jacoby, how they used motion for the pin and pull toss, where he did his thing, spun around, the scat back, and then he actually ran over a guy or two. What a great play. So the explosive plays were there. Great catch by Coy Aiken at one point that could have been intercepted, Right. I think we forget about that. But then the red zone, 5 field goals. You didn't turn it over, though. And Lefwitz basically said he feels like guys are straining too hard at almost every position instead of just doing their jobs. Guys, in terms of like the depth of the routes, blocking assignments, trying to force balls into places. But ultimately, there were a couple of drops that, has been a hot topic on the board. Well, all the success, I think that's what a lot of people are focused on. I think that's human nature. But what's your take on the red zone problems and the offense overall?
Yeah, I mean, the receivers at this point are what you're going to get.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, you've seen this. I mean, the drops have been recurring basically all season long. It's not just one guy. It's basically all of them, except for Terrence Carter. I mean,
he dropped one. Well, that one was broken up.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, I think he's been the most sure-handed receiver that Texas Tech has had. Of course, now he's got a little bit smaller statistical sample because he missed a few games, right?
Yeah.
So, but still, whether it's Douglas, whether it's Virgil, whether it's Aiken, you're getting drop passes. So at this point, there's too much at stake for you to necessarily believe you can rely on throwing the ball to these guys down in the red zone. So, I mean, that you can't take that off the boards completely. But I believe, it's up to Mac Lefwitz at this point to rethink some things and figure out some new stuff as to how they're going to approach this and attack once you get into the red zone. Because the red zone is, ironically, the toughest place to score because the field is so compressed.
Absolutely.
I mean, intuitively, if you don't know much about football, you say, well, the closer you get to the goal line, the easier it is to score, right? Well, no not necessarily. Some ways it gets tougher and tougher until you get down to like the 1 or the 2. Yeah, then it becomes easier.
Right.
But otherwise, man, scoring in the red zone is a tough deal. Getting touchdowns in the red zone, is really, really a tough deal. So coach got to figure some things out. I think you got to lean on that run a little bit more. And you got maybe the two best running backs in the Big 12 both playing for Texas Tech.
Yeah.
LJ
when healthy for BYU.
He's in the conversation.
Yeah.
But I'm not sure that I've seen two that I would prefer to have to Williams, and I'm coming around on Dickey as well.
Yeah, I'm not going to argue too much against that. Those two guys have been great. What's crazy about that is Quentin Joyner was expected to be the starter, or at least 1 or 1A, you know what I mean? With probably Dickey and Jacoby being more of a scat back, punt returner, that kind of thing was the plan going into it before the contact was injured to Joyner. So that backfield could have been even more lethal, which is crazy to think about. I really love what you said about accepting what the receivers are at this point. I mean, there's 10 games of evidence. We saw drops even in non-conference against terrible competition. And I kind of chalk that up. Maybe the focus isn't there because of the competition. No, that's been a thing. So has red zone issues, but so has the explosiveness of the offense. So has the quality of special teams. And of course, this dominant defense, which, we talked about in the rapid fire earlier this week. To me, and look, I know there could have been like a team in the 50s or something in a different era that maybe had a better stats and all that. This is the best defense Texas Tech's ever had. Like I don't have to go through a lot of history. It's certainly the best this century, and that's not even close in my opinion.
No.
What about this defense, Joe? Just when you first think of the performance Saturday and then the performance overall, what comes to mind?
Yeah, I mean, what you say, I don't think it's controversial at this point.
Yeah,
it's the best in program history when you consider not only what they're doing but the competition. I mean, they're playing at a higher level of competition than they ever did in the Border Conference.
Right.
Arguably, for the most part, the Southwest Conference as well. You may have some issues with earlier in the Big 12 and OU and UT were in the league, but you weren't as good defensively back then either. This is the best in program history. I think the question is right now, is it the best in the country?
It's up there with Ohio State and Indiana.
Indiana,
both those two teams.
They are. But it's in there, man.
Yeah, it's in there.
It's right near the top. The main thing that stands out to me is forget about running the football against them.
Yeah.
Particularly between the tackles.
Yeah.
If that's your bread and butter, running the football, then you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Against Texas Tech. You can't sustain anything on the ground. Basically, you might rip off a 6, 7, 8, 9 yarder here and there and pick up a first down or two,
right,
but then you're going to bog down.
Yeah.
Unless you can go over the top, or unless you got a really fast quarterback who can get to the outside, it's a nightmare. And then Texas Tech is just about the best pass rushing defense in the country as well. I mean, they lead the Big 12 in sacks by a wide margin, and I don't know where they are nationally, but they're at the top or are very near in terms of sacks. So, what do you do? And you try to throw the football because you can't run it, and you get your quarterback killed.
Yeah.
So it's it's a dilemma. It really is.
I thought it was interesting, to your point, what BYU's offensive coordinator said after it. And in terms of sacks, I just listed, going back real quick, I just listed a bunch of stats, and I think in terms of sacks per game, Tech almost is at 3 per game, which is like 12th, I think, which, believe it or not, is one of the worst statistical categories. I mean, stop rate against the run, even just pressure, not counting sacks, third down, fourth down defense is even better. But going back to what BYU's offensive coordinator said, so they couldn't run the ball, which is their bread and butter, and then they were forced into obvious passing situations, but they had to keep 7 in to block 4 guys and still couldn't really do it. So Tech was able to play, a lot of cover, like soft zones, like cover 2. And I mean, Brendan Jordan and Cole Wisniewski just had great games, just running downhill because of that. So to me, it really starts with those guys up front. Don't get me wrong, J-Rod is amazing. Probably he is. He's the team MVP. But David Bailey, and I went back and watched the game, and Romello Height had a sneaky, dominant game. He was a problem for BYU. He didn't register a lot of stats, but I was kind of surprised to see just what a problem and how disruptive he was, which shouldn't be a surprise at this point. It's just, we saw it. and it in real time it didn't really register. Going back and getting having the clicker, getting the rewind and everything, I was like, they had no answer for Romello, and they were doubling and chipping David Bailey, and then Lee Hunter, who we're going to talk about more in another video, had just a monster game. I mean, they 2-3 guys sometimes, and he was just rolling. Oh, he was carrying guys back into the backfield. So those guys make things so much easier. Jarret was a good player before these guys came. Now he's running free, and with the scheme from Shield Wood, just allowing them to play confidently, play fast. I mean, that's why you're getting the result. Not to mention those guys on the corners with Pollock. Boyd, it doesn't even seem to matter. Boyd has been great. Balfour was great. Mulhorn, when given the opportunity, has been great. So I really like Pollock there. I think he's a difference maker. But, I mean, you throw it all together, and then you start throwing in depth. It is the best defensive program in history. Absolutely one of the best in the country. Maybe the best defensive line in the country, including Ohio State and Indiana. No disrespect to them, but what a great thing we've been treated to so far this season.
Yeah, it's they're hard to play against.
They're really hard to play against.
Let's just put it like that. I mean, it's you know, if you're UCF, you're looking at this game and you're on offense, you're probably feeling a little bit queasy in the gizzard here. Like, man, I'm not sure I want any part of these dudes.
Yeah.
You know, it's that way for pretty much everybody. I mean, it doesn't matter how good an offense we've seen go up against Texas Tech. You know, nobody's just really been able to get too much done. What's the highest point total that anybody scored against? I'm trying to remember.
What did Arizona State get? That's probably it.
That's probably it. 26. Yeah. Shoot, you know.
I was impressed that Kansas State got, 20?
Right,
you know what I mean, to be honest. Like,
that's right. They, that Avery Johnson guy is the only quarterback who's done anything on the ground against Texas Tech. They've shut everybody else down. So it's just, so far we haven't seen an offense that is a match for this defense. And I think the only way you're going to see that is in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And then it may take a round or two before that happens. They're pretty good.
You mentioned UCF. Let's get into that matchup. I know it's not everybody wanted to hear about BYU. That's what we wanted to talk about, was that performance. But UCF, I mean, I think they've had a lot of injuries at the quarterback position.
Yes,
third and fourth quarter. The fourth quarterback went in and kind of ran the ball some and then threw an interception. They almost beat Houston in their space game. They actually have some pretty good athletes on defense and watching that game. And then McGuire mentioned that. But offensively, I just don't see how they're going to have a lot of success unless Tech just comes out uninspired, has that classic letdown game. I just can't see how UCF is going to generate a lot of offense here.
No. I mean, because, we talked about running the football as your bread and butter, and this is a defense you don't want to play.
Right.
And that's the case with UCF.
Yeah.
I mean, they actually run the football pretty well.
Yeah, they do.
They got a running back averaging 5 yards a carry. Miles Montgomery, I believe, who it is. They're averaging, I believe, 186 on the ground. These are good numbers. But, we've seen teams come in to play in Texas Tech with numbers like that.
Yeah.
And then they wind up with 67 on the ground or something like that. And then Texas Tech is forcing fumbles, as well. I mean, that's something that Texas leads the country in fumbles, force, and recovery, and so forth, so on. So, so what? And then UCF cannot throw the football very well. You mentioned the quarterback issues. They don't have much of a passing attack. So if you can't run the football because you're facing this monster defense, and you don't have much of a passing attack, you're kind of forced to hope you can get field goals.
Yeah.
And they do have a good field goal kicker, but really, I think, unless something weird happens, or unless, as you say, Texas Tech just comes out flat as the cap rock, then you're not going to.
That's good.
I don't see them scoring a touchdown, man. They may kick a field goal or two, but And so then it's up to Texas Tech's offense, which is just to kind of do what they do, saw wood, go down there, take care of the ball, don't turn it over. If you have to settle for a field goal or two here and then, that's not the end of the world in a game like this. So this could be similar to the BYU game, except worse for the opposition.
Yeah. I do like, though, that it wasn't just all rainbows and sunshine. Tech has received some criticism for its struggles in the red zone to kind of keep the guys sharp. So the offense is going to be looking to prove a point. We'll see if they can do it. And then, of course, there's the health of Baron Morton.
Yes.
Coach McGuire asked him about it Monday. He broke it down. Basically, that they rest him for most of the week. He'll do some 7-on-7, go against some scout. And then they really ramp it up by Friday for that hairline fracture in his fibula, which I'm not a doctor.
It's one of those bones.
One of those, but his leg, man, his lower leg. So Barron's just going to have to tough it out. But, I think that's going to be huge because they do have some good athletes just protecting Barron. You don't want, some kind of crazy injury or something like that, some blindside hit happen to him.
That's right. And that's the one thing that scares me about the remainder of the season more than anything else.
Yeah.
Is the defensive coordinators out there know the situation with Barron, obviously, inside and out. And he's a bit of a statue back there, even when he was completely healthy.
Yeah.
He wasn't exactly Randall Cunningham.
Right. I like your references today.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. And so, and with the injury, he's even less mobile than usual. He got sacked 4 times against BYU.
Yeah, at least 2 of them were probably on him,
he held
right?
onto the ball too long. He's got to learn that it's late in the game, but he needs to. The point is, that's going to be the defensive strategy for people now. Is to come after Barron, and if he gets knocked out of the game, well, them's the breaks. So that worries me about his health, and can he stay healthy for the remainder of the season? If not, you're looking at Mitch Griffiths, which may not be the worst thing. He's looked pretty good, but still, you prefer to have your man Barron out there.
Yeah, with Mitch, it just kind of seems like he's a riverboat gambler. You know what I mean? Kind of guy, gunslinger. And Barron has had that reputation, but he's not a game manager. But the way he manages a game, the efficiency in which he doesn't turn the ball over, I think is huge for this specific team. Elite defense, great special teams, very good running game, don't turn the ball over.
Yep.
That's a recipe to go very far. Yep. So, obviously, for a million reasons, you want Barron to stay healthy. But Mighty Joe, man, great stuff from you as always. Thank y'all for watching, and until next time.